And there you go.
This is the victory formation.
All right, boys, here we go. Best play in football. 6 red tight diamond victory on 1. Break.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, it's jam.
The Pick'em segment proving that Colin Zanker is the most humble man in the history of time. Least. Featuring Nick Archuleta wishing he was somewhere else. And Joe Goodwin just kind of winging it.
Welcome in, everyone, to the Undrafted Uncensored, where we are going by victory formation again, apparently.
I was going to say, do you think you noticed?
I don't know.
Welcome to the
There it is.
Undrafted Uncensored cast of pod.
Yes.
Hosted by Nick Archuleta. Mosted by Colin Zanker. And last, but certainly is least, Joseph Goodwin.
Welcome in, everyone, to the Undrafted Uncensored, where now that we have the actual theme song played, I feel a little bit better, and nothing funny today. Just do want to offer my congratulations to my favorite Chicago Cub, the one and only Ryan Sandberg. It was just announced yesterday he is cancer-free. He got his last treatments of chemo and radiation, and he is cancer-free now after probably, I think it was about 6 months that he was being treated. Colin is still hiding in the background somewhere.
He's not real. He doesn't exist.
I think he's just a little embarrassed at himself right now, but
I'm just going to leave you guys to it. Yep.
Colin is like birds, and birds aren't real.
oh, okay. But yes, congratulations to the one and only Rhino. Very happy to hear that news. I mean, Colin, you love baseball as much as I do. You know how much Rhino means to not just the Chicago Cubs, but baseball in general.
It is a nice food district.
Sandberg was always one of those consistent guys you always saw at short for the Cubs.
Second.
But you always saw him out there game in, game out, and he was always a tough out. Kind of were able to catch really the end of his career here in Colorado, it felt like. So didn't get to see all, didn't get to follow it all, but you always got to see him, and that's one of those benefits of being on TV all the damn time, everywhere you go, and having a contract with a broadcast station that goes everywhere. And anywhere you had cable, if there was a day game, which the Cubs played a lot of when I was younger, you were able to watch them. You were able to watch Sandberg. It's if you, like I said, I'm not gonna hate on anybody for not being able to watch them on TV, like two local teams that we can't see. But it was always cool to be able to watch baseball and live baseball, real baseball, any time of the day when you flipped it on, because the Cubs were usually playing a game, and games took 4 hours. So,
especially when he was the Rockies' third base coach, Glenn Allen Hill. When Glenn Allen Hill hit 3 home runs in a game, like clear out of Wrigley.
Oh, I don't remember him hitting 3 out, like over into the streets.
Yeah.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, we're almost there. Like I could see the starting line for football. Like it's there. We didn't really I forgot to put this in there. We didn't really talk about the game from Sunday. So I don't know. Do you guys want to touch on that first? Because I think we could take a little bit from the game on Sunday and kind of where this team is headed and kind of what Peyton's thinking is.
Sean Payton or Peyton Manning? Because Peyton was at practice today.
Any takeaways?
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just asking any takeaways.
Yeah, I think we kind of saw the hierarchy at quarterback. I think it's pretty clear it's going to be Bo Nix. Like the other guys didn't look good enough to force him out, and he didn't look terrible to force himself, or terrible enough to force himself out. So I feel like we saw that's what's going to be the case, unless we see some kind of colossal collapse in his start in the second game here. I think it's going to end up being Bo Nix, and then decide whether they're going to keep 3 quarterbacks or which of the other 2 guys they keep along with him.
The takeaways are Sean Payton is just holding true to what he started out with. He's giving these guys a chance, and really what the question is after he came out and spoke this week, Bo Nix looked good, and you saw exactly what you expected to see out of Stidham. Stiddy does what Stiddy does, and Stiddy all the way. Like it's all the same stuff. So you didn't really see anything crazy, which you don't expect.
Stiddy's
and then
not shitty.
He's not. He doesn't have many. His Stiddy moments are pretty boring, and
Steady as she goes.
Steady as she goes. But for the Broncos, I sit here and think that really with Zach Wilson, Bo Nix is going to be in the starter unless something horrific happens. And my worry is that Bo goes out this week after the joint practice, after all these things, and he looks like Paxton Lynch. He looks absolutely horrible in this game on Sunday. And he doesn't show improvement. He regresses terribly. And then what do you do?
How much of that is just based on past influence, because it's been quite the downhill slide in the quarterback room?
Well, I mean, yeah, a lot of it freaks me out. But what I guess that part boils down to is that, are you keeping then Zach Wilson and Bo Nix? Because I think that's what would end up happening. Let's not mince words about where this Broncos team is. They're totally rebuilding. This is a complete rebuild. And so who are you going to rebuild with? Jarrett Stidham or Zach Wilson if you had to choose between the 2?
If I had to choose between the 2, I'm taking probably Zach Wilson.
So Zach Wilson is the guy who's staying there. Because if you're choosing between Bo Nix and Stidham, you're choosing your top draft pick.
Yeah.
So if something bad happens to Bo Nix and he fails, you're keeping Zach Wilson because there's the potential.
Safety.
He's a wild card. I don't think he's safe at all to keep.
Oh.
I think Stidham is the safe one to keep.
Yep.
Yeah, but I don't know. Stidham's just, he gives me that Gary Kubiak vibe, where he can come out there and perform when he needs to, but it's not going to be an everyday, every week thing. It's going to be a once in a while, like, oh, Elway, hurt his shoulder, or he's in the tent right now, so we gotta send Kubiak out there, and he can do the job. He's just not going to blow you away.
Yeah, I think the decision really is going to be, do you want the quarterback who's going to give your team the best chance to actually win? Or do you want the quarterback who's going to kind of help develop your guys? Because Stidham, I think, can be that kind of coach on the sidelines that I don't think Zach Wilson can be. So you're sacrificing some on-field play for maybe some, coaching elements almost. But I think also it depends on what you can get for either of those guys. You've already got J.J. McCarthy going down for the season. I'm not saying that either one of them is going to command really much of anything. But if you can get something for Jarrett Stidham, then that's who you get rid of. And
they just signed Matt Corral.
Yeah.
That does not change my mind at all.
They're rolling with those guys. They're not They're not bringing anyone in to try and take over. They're gonna use this season in Minnesota. I get what you're saying, Joe, but they're not. Yeah. Minnesota isn't bringing anyone in. If they lose this season, they lose this season, and they're gonna do it with Sam Bradford or Sam Darnold. Jesus,
same thing.
Yeah. Michael Sam.
I think if you're in a rebuild, you're not looking for just a steady guy. You're looking for the guy. And until you find him, I agree. He gives Gary Kubiak vibes. Fine, good backup. But he's also, I mean, we are sitting here saying that Stidham is a competent backup. When do we really know this? I mean, he's had 4 starts and 1 win. Let's not really
against Easton Stick and the Chargers, who were barely trying.
Yeah, let's not really play this game like Jared Stidham is really going to be a good backup or career. I mean, he might just be a career backup because he doesn't play that much, but he's a good coach type of guy, and he sees things and understands things. Maybe that's why. But he's hitting 250 right now. And that ain't that good. And you've been in the league 3 seasons?
I don't know. That's Chris Bryant. That's pretty damn good.
Well,
if we're comparing our Broncos quarterbacks to Chris Bryant, I'm not happy.
Yeah. So it's going to be a long season. We better get some more IL spots.
Ooh, can't wait for the draft next year because that's how it's going to feel.
So, yeah, I mean, like I said, we say Stidham is this steady guy, and I don't understand why we believe that with 4 games. When we've seen more out of Zach Wilson, and we've seen definitely worse from Zach Wilson than we have from Jarrett Stidham, but we've also seen way better from Zach Wilson than we've seen from Jarrett Stidham. So if you're starting over, you're taking Zach Wilson and Bo Nix. The only thing that sucks is that you're gonna have him breathe. Each one's gonna be breathing down each other's neck, trying to get that job. And if you start losing, then you really have the worry of the backup quarterback.
Denver has a history too of loving their backup quarterbacks anyway.
Yep.
Going all the way back to the Elway era. It's a matter of time. This fan base is hungry. Sean Payton's making a lot of changes. He's trying to get this team right and get them on a clear path. But at the same time, ask Russ. It's not going to take much to get that fan base to turn on you. And high knees in an airplane and 70 points to the Dolphins are out there on the menu already.
Steelers country. Let's ride.
You think he wears a terrible towel underneath his helmet?
I hope so.
He probably does. He was in uniform on Sunday when he wasn't even eligible to play. You guys see that?
No.
Did he do an interview in uniform too?
He was in full uniform when he was ruled out before the game.
I'm
not surprised. That cannot end well in Pittsburgh.
No.
I mean, it wore very thin. Like it wore very thin quickly here.
Tomlin's not going to put up with it either.
Oh my God.
Tomlin does not have. He's not going to be patient enough for that. And if he is, then somebody's slipping something in his drink because that's not the Mike Tomlin I know and love.
Yeah, like I can just the only thing I can picture them actually thinking is maybe they feel like somehow it's not on Russ, or they're finally okay with not going 8-8 and actually having a real rebuild and getting a quarterback next year. But or are they convinced it's Justin Fields? I don't know, man. That whole situation just flabbergasts me. Like that's what you chose. Those 2 guys, the 2 guys that I would have laughed the most at about any team signing as their starting quarterback after the way they played the last few years. Like it's just
Denver
I wanted to
for
work
Zach
out.
Wilson.
Yeah,
I'm like, hold on. I'd take Justin Fields, like Justin Fields over Russ. But
for sure, and Justin Fields was the quarterback of the worst team in football the past 2 seasons in a row.
No, they were not.
Yeah, they were terrible.
Carolina.
They had, that's right. That's right.
They
The
were
Patriots
not.
from Carolina.
And
they were like 4th or 5th worst.
And
but still.
Houston and New England. I believe they were just 1 game better than the Broncos. Like they were like
4th or 5th, and then they were the worst team 2 years ago, and when they gave up their draft pick. But
Justin Fields was hurt that year too.
Was he? I don't know. He played terrible most of the time until that last year when he really started to kind of throw passes and not just run around a lot. But like that's also kind of a problem when, that's your best option. But he's a talented guy, but we'll see.
But how much of that too is the coaching, and how much of that is Justin Fields?
That's the same thing people say about Russ.
No, Russ is kind of established. It's Russ.
We think
he's
that
been through 2 teams now.
Yeah.
And we saw what happened when the inmates were allowed to run the asylum.
Interception at the 1-yard line.
So I mean, we know who the problem is in the Russ situation now.
Yo, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think Justin Fields, while I don't think he's great, I'm still happy the Broncos took Surtain over him.
Yes.
I think he's a super talent. Like he's a very talented quarterback who needs to learn or still needs to practice some things. And I don't think that Eberflus in Chicago really gave him the tools. They also had issues. I mean, their running back situation in Chicago for years, they would go through running backs, and he was literally their only running back. And the only talent they got on offense was DJ Moore. And what happened when he got DJ Moore? DJ Moore last year, I think he caught he had 1,100 yards and like 7 or 8 touchdowns.
He had that one huge game.
Yeah.
So Fields has talent, and I honestly think Pittsburgh is foolish for going with Russ.
Yeah.
And they're going to end up going with Justin Fields because Fields is easily the more intriguing and the more talented. And you said, I mean, we know what Russ is right now. And so the Pittsburgh Steelers figured that out. I think it was a courtesy to say you're the starter, and Justin Fields needs to have one good game and beat him out.
Well, and I think too, Pittsburgh kind of went, we're not paying for him. Okay, yeah, we'll make that trade. We're giving you no money, and we're giving him no money. You're giving him all the money, and we're still looking at Justin Fields. So, yeah, let's run with that.
Hopefully they stick with that because I want Russ starting week 2. I want to beat Russell Wilson and the Pittsburgh Steelers in week 2. If he's playing in that game, that's the Broncos Super Bowl.
Yeah,
I mean, right here. That's the
I'm
only
going to be
game.
at that game, so yeah, I do want to have fun with that.
Yeah, that's the only one I really care that much about winning. Like, it's between that and the home game against the Raiders that I want to win the most because I'm tired of this win streak the Raiders have against us. That's it. Like, that's all I want. And I feel like if they do the smart thing and play Justin Fields, I won't care nearly as much. And we can end up taking the L and, just moving onto the proverbial Cincinnati.
I could care less about I mean, I would like to beat the Raiders game, but I'd like to beat the Raiders, but I could care less since they got rid of the devil. It's just whatever. I think the Broncos are going to lose a lot this year. Still, I think they'll get a win against the Raiders. I don't know what's going on with the Chargers in the division, but I'm hoping for another high draft pick and some progress. Whoa, hi, Nuts.
Wow.
Hi.
Another high draft.
I always thought you were crazy, but now I can see that.
But nope, my mouse moved when I went to go click on it.
But I would like to
still have two.
I would like to see. I still have 2. I know we have 2 weeks. So after we got 1 more week for last preseason, and then the very last week with no games before we start. That we'll have to do our final rank. So I mean, the over/under is 5.5 for the Broncos, and I'd be hammering the under.
No. This team's showing growth. They're moving. They're making improvements. They stunned the Packers a little bit today too, based on what I'm hearing. And the Packers sent out their number 1s. Nick Bonito decided to start a little bit of a little fracas.
It's true. I would like to quote the great Allen Iverson. We're talking about practice.
Still, but you know how these practices go, though. These joint practices, this is when everybody starts getting fired up and annoyed, and you're just happy that somebody across from you doesn't wear the same colors as you, so you get a little more aggressive. At least that's how I felt when we did our joint practices.
How'd the season end up when the Broncos looked like they dominated the Cowboys in joint practice?
That was the Cowboys.
Cowboys
are unreliable for anything.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, this is the whole Rockies versus anybody. The we're giving you. Oh, it's nice.
19
It's
more
nice.
wins.
It's nice that you came out. It's nice that you came out to play, guys.
19 more wins.
Thanks for coming onto the field today.
We'll get into that later.
And
19 more wins.
we just have to show up hungover on one leg with one
Like
eye
that,
open.
like the
and
Packers
we'll
receiver.
see.
in Super Bowl
Ask the
one.
Braves about that. Ask the Mets about that.
Oh, I know. That's what I'm saying.
I know.
But that's how it's treated. I think that's how the Broncos are viewed in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
They're a below average team, so teams kind of don't feel like they have to give their best, and at least in this instance, that's kind of how I feel.
I think that you're both right. I think that you're right, Colin, and that's going to cause the Broncos to squeak away with more wins than they deserve to get because teams are going to be sleeping on them. And Sean Payton, I don't think he has the mental fortitude to lose games. I really don't. I think he's going to do everything he can. If he sees a little opening somewhere, he's going to take it. And, sometimes that opening is just running the ball straight against Kansas City. But, I feel like that might end up that 5.5, that's really tough because that's hard to lose that many games. But at the same time, when your team is terrible, like the Broncos have been the past couple of years, it's not that a couple things go wrong and everything falls apart, and you're hoping to win 1 or 2 games.
Yeah, but you've been so bad that at this point, you can't have everything going that wrong at this point because of how much Sean Payton is driving this thing into the W column.
Yeah, but at the same time, you want it to because you haven't been able to capitalize off of your past failures. Every time that you've been terrible, you haven't been able to use your own draft pick. Tariq Woolen plays in Seattle with the draft pick that the Broncos should have had for being terrible. So they finally now get to capitalize off being bad if they actually, are bad.
Sorry, Colin, I wore my sunglasses today.
I can tell. I was gonna say it's nighttime and the sunglasses are on. Like Jesus, Nick, you talked about this roster last year and the players, and now it's like we have to see guys step up. Can we see a bunch of guys that haven't proven it in the NFL step up big time? Sure, of course it's a possibility, but is it likely? No, I don't think it is. Not this division isn't. We'll see what Kansas City.
I'm not saying they're going to win the division.
No. But what I'm saying, you have 6 games against your division, though. So if you're looking at your division, it's not as good as it used to be because
the Chargers and the Raiders are beatable.
The Chargers and Raiders are beatable, but that's mostly because Justin Herbert is like we don't know what's happening. But
He's on life support.
I would take Harbaugh in that offense against this unknown defense, with their running game or what should be their running game right now. I would choose them if Herbert is healthy. Like I would choose that offense against this defense because the Broncos lost guys last year that we all liked and thought were, good players, maybe just not team players. And this goes into a whole nother bag of like, what the hell is going on with Sean Payton? Sean Payton hates anybody who opposes his view.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I can't remember if we talked about this or if I talked about it with some of the students. I mean, Brandon McManus, gone. Justin Simmons,
gone.
Up for player, gone.
Now.
Like, who does he bring in? He brings in Will Lutz. Like, if the Broncos are going to win these games, it's going to be close games, and you have to rely on Will Lutz to make kicks, which for half of the season you couldn't, and then the other half it was still a little shaky. There are a few poles hit. It's just he missed some extra points. Like we're talking about guys who you're relying on who haven't proven it before, or who've proven that they can't be relied upon. So,
but again, too, winning changes culture. So you start down that winning path, and again, I'm not saying they're gonna go undefeated. I'm not saying they're heading to the Super Bowl, but winning changes a mentality. Winning makes things different. Winning makes things fun.
I know, but also kind of the path to winning has been shown to us via the draft.
Yeah, but again, a lot of that too is the past administration too. That except for the Russ one.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, how many teams in Pittsburgh Steelers that we're talking about? Perfect example. They have to take Kenny Pickett, or they're basically forced to take Kenny Pickett.
Yeah.
They had to.
I think there would have been an uprising if they didn't take the Pittsburgh small hands dude. Like if they didn't take him, and so
I want to eat this Big Mac. I got these tiny hands.
Look at these tiny hands. Can't do it. But they're middle of the road every year. But when was the last time they were a serious contender that we actually thought they were serious? And then you turn around and look at the Houston Texans. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. But even then, wasn't it kind of a surprise though?
No, that was Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown.
Was that the last? Okay, I thought that was 2 years before.
That was the Broncos beating them in the playoffs with. That was the last time I think they were good because they had Antonio Brown get like knocked out by the Bengals and barely even advance. And that was it. After that, Le'Veon Bell held out, and they never felt like they had a chance again. In my opinion,
I didn't realize that was their last year. So about the same amount of time. But guess what? They've been mediocre and barely squeaking in the playoffs. And now look at where they're sitting. And they're sitting with Russell Wilson as their starting quarterback, a questionable offensive line. Their defense, but that's a tradition there.
It's solid.
And that's more of a tradition type of thing. They have some good guys there, and I think that's one of those teams where your defense just automatically plays up because of who you are in the Steelers.
Yeah,
but they're stuck in the middle of nowhere. They're stuck in the middle of nowhere. And that's where the Broncos have been the last few years without their draft picks and just being a ho-hum. We're going to get 9 wins, 8 wins, whatever. 7, 8, 9 wins. Okay, cool. Now we're drafting 15, 16, 17, and we can't even get a top 10 pick. When we do, we blow
it. But I don't know. Sean Payton has something to prove now, though. And this isn't just we're going to be content with a wild card appearance or, we're going to be happy to just be in the conversation. He's not going to – he wants to win. I mean, it's evident because he's flipped that switch now, especially with the press, that, it's game face now, and we're going to be getting a lot of what's the question here in a couple weeks.
I hate that. I think you're right. I think he's going to try to win. I think he's going to keep doing – I think it's a mistake. But, yeah, I think that's going to end up being – until he is proven that he can't win with this team, he's going to try to prove that he can, that he's, the guru. He wants to be the Texans. He was asked today about, how much the Texans, inspire them. Maybe it was the other day, but how much the Texans inspire him and how much a young team kind of changing the narrative was motivating them and how possible that is. And he was like, yeah, it could happen, but you could feel that in his voice. Like he wants this team to be that. He would much rather be that and take those later round draft picks from success than just lose one more year and end up getting, Travis Hunter or something like that for Bo Nix. Well,
and even a team that's not, I go look at the Detroit Lions. I mean, they're drafting. They had a long history of failure. We all know that. Mm-hmm. Year after year after year, couldn't get a playoff game win. Matthew Stafford finally gets one. They couldn't make it there. But then they finally started with their new regime started to get it right. They nailed their draft picks. They nailed Penny Sewell.
Yeah. Aiden Hutchinson.
Yep, Hutchinson. Amon-Ra St. Brown. Sam Laporta. I can't remember their other cornerback that they drafted who's really good. I'm blanking on the name. But even they got Jahmyr Gibbs, and then they got rid of DeAndre Swift. But DeAndre Swift was a draft pick. They made all of these moves, but that was all done through the draft. And this is when they were on the rise. And the Broncos haven't had the opportunity to get those draft picks to be able to be on the rise and make some of those same moves. Houston had they were picks 1 and 3 last year. And they got defensive rookie of the year and offensive rookie of the year.
Yeah, but
in those two picks.
This is a new administration too. They learned their lesson with the first one.
I know
they got their PP slapped pretty hard with that first trading away the first round draft pick. And so
I know what you're saying, but what I'm saying
too is HR for that.
If you're stuck in the middle of these drafts, it's like you're going to continuously be stuck in the middle. You're home dude in the Greek mythology pushing that rock uphill. You're finally going to get it uphill and get to the playoffs, and then guess what? It's going to go back down, and you're going to have to continue to push it up the hill. I can't remember the home dude's name right now.
I just keep trying to say Atlas, and that's not it. Atlas is the one who's holding the earth.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that's what the Broncos are doing. It's a losing battle because the Cincinnati Bengals, the Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, these are teams that have been built through the draft. The Jaguars have a number one quarterback. I would take Trevor Lawrence over the three guys in camp right now at Broncos camp.
Oh, for sure.
And they have Travis Etienne, who's been pretty solid. They drafted Brian Thomas, wide receiver out of LSU this year. They went through and got Calvin Ridley on a 1-year deal and said, okay, see you later. But they have a really good tight end in Evan Ingram, Christian Kirk, who everyone was like, you overpaid for him in his contract, but now it looks pretty damn good because he's been really productive, through the draft. The Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen, top pick.
Always biggest regret.
Biggest regret.
Finally, he said it.
It goes back 15 years. Look at the Arizona Cardinals from the early 2000s. All of a sudden, they went from being a terrible team to, wait a minute, Larry Fitzgerald is great. Anquan Bolden is great. They had the safety, Adrian Wilson. Okay. They had so many great players. And all of a sudden, you put Kurt Warner as the quarterback of that team, and they're really fucking good because they built through the draft. There's so few examples of teams that can continuously, or they can build to success without getting those early draft picks. Really, the only teams that continue are the teams that have the great quarterbacks that can cover up all their flaws. And you see those teams fall apart eventually too with the Packers and the Patriots.
Yep. Yeah. And that's where I sit. Is the Broncos. Maybe it's just, it really is me just wishful thinking that they are terrible and get another high draft pick, and they're terrible in the aspect that they're losing games, but they're competitive. I pray that we don't see 70-20 again. For the love of God, let's not do that again.
No.
But if you're competitive in these games, then awesome. Like, cool. You showed some growth. Bo Nix doesn't look like Paxton Lynch. He doesn't look like Drew Lock and starts 6 through 10. He doesn't, he can throw the ball better than Tebow. It's not all fluky. That's what I'm hoping for. Like, you're seeing some stuff, but you lose because those draft picks are even more valuable. And even then, if the Broncos have a high draft pick and they have the opportunity to gain extra picks because of that and move back, that's even more valuable, because if that team does show growth and you have some guys that you like and can keep, then the future years, I'm talking year 3, year 4, year 5, when you have those very high talented top draft picks, that's where you can really just blow up.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I think obviously we both want the success of the organization and the team. Yeah. We want Super Bowls again. I think sometimes I come off like it's going to be, this season is their growth season. The next year they're in the playoffs, and I'm not trying to picture a Denver Broncos team in the playoffs until at least year 3. And that's just quick moving. Everything's coming together and clicking, and all the right picks have been made. I fully understand that this could be a 5-year process. I don't want it to be. But if it's competitive football, and it's not like the Lions used to be, where you're just getting drudged 42-12 or 70-20, I'm okay with losing tight games. I'm okay with scoring 28 to 32 points if it's a competitive game. If it's a competitive game.
They're not scoring 28 points.
No, but that's,
they haven't scored 28 points down,
since I'm not saying this year. I'm not saying this year. I'm saying as they grow and progress, 28 to 32 points, as long as you're making it a competitive game and it's coming down to the final drive or it's coming down to a final stand, I'm okay with that. I'm not saying they're going to do it this year. I'm just saying I want competitive growth and seeing this team continue to move up.
Well, and just to go back, I know you said 5 years, and I'm not trying to be nitpicky, but I'm talking like 3 years. Like that's really what you're looking at this season, and then the next, and then in year 3.
Okay,
because
so year 3 of the rebuild or year 3 of Sean Payton as the head coach?
Year 3 of the rebuild. So you have this year.
The rebuild starts now.
And you have this year. You're not great. You have this year's draft. Maybe you've shown enough signs. You still have a high draft pick. You move back, a la look at what the Chicago Bears did. They got some pretty damn good players from moving back and are pretty well set up, it looks like. And then you have that year's draft if you move back, and you have the power from that draft to then do whatever you want in your year 3 draft and grab the guys that you're looking for. Like I said, you get some pieces in next year's draft, but then you have one more draft on top of that. On year 3, you're looking really good. I want to say Burrow and Chase came 1 year after each other, right?
Yep.
It was Burrow year 1, Chase year 2. Yeah, Burrow tore his ACL. Chase couldn't catch the ball. Then offensively, they set the league on fire. But in year 3, isn't that when they went to the Super Bowl?
No, I think it was.
Was it year 2? Was it his second? Was it Chase's rookie year?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure because that was they immediately came out and just started balling. Yeah. And they upset the Chiefs in Burrowhead.
Okay, I can remember that was year 2 or 3. But that was once again through the draft. They had their quarterback, and their quarterback got injured, another top pick, and they just like it builds like that, and that's a way that we've seen it can build. You can't, I can't find an example, or I can't think of an example of a team that's been in the middle who's just automatically like blown up for continued success, I guess I should say, because I think the thing that we're looking at with some of these teams, you brought up the Cardinals. That Cardinals success was a 3-year lifespan, really. And I'm looking, especially with a rookie quarterback or now rookie quarterback, I'm looking for 10 years worth of consistency.
Before we go on, thank you everybody that's tuned in, whatever platform you're using. You're tuned in to Undrafted Uncensored here on the E5280 Sports Network. Colin Zanker, Joe Goodwin, Nick Archuleta here with you. We appreciate you joining in. Jump into the chat, Joe. We see your message there.
Yeah, Broncos hungry. And Joe, I agree with what you're saying to an extent. I just feel like those guys are the fringe starters that help start building the rebuild, but the Broncos really need to get those superstar guys that you can't get without the high top draft picks. Sometimes you get lucky and you get Justin Jefferson in the second round, but I feel like guys like Cooper, guys like Vele, like that'll be awesome if they work out, but they're still going to end up being solid starters at best, whereas they really need to get those super impactful pass rushers. But you know what? Hopefully I'm wrong, and Jonathan Cooper turns into or Nick Bonito, because he's so fast, turns into one of the kind of the second coming of Montez Sweat to an extent, who also isn't like a great pass rusher in the league, but he's a starter and a solid one.
So jump in the chat if you want. We'll be more than happy to talk to you. Sorry, Carl.
Yeah, Bonito has been one of the talks of the camp this year.
Yeah,
it's been
he kind of
pretty damn popular.
He started flexing last year anyway when he came in with all those injuries. So I mean, it was a matter of time before you knew Bonito was going to be a star.
Yeah, he was either going to be a star or he was going to be fucking terrible. And there was no in between, because he's so talented and so fast. Like, he was going to have to burn out like a fucking star if he wasn't going to, I guess, become a star. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Well, you know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know what I mean. You know what I do think, though? I think we've been on this topic a little too long. It's time to get some couple other teams in here real quick. Nuggets schedule was released. 16 back-to-back games scattered throughout the season. 22 national games. And they're playing on Christmas. But this time they go down to the land of the sun, where they're going to play Phoenix on Xmas Day.
Ooh.
I mean, you guys care more about the schedule than I do, because I can watch them all because I have altitude. So how do you guys feel about this schedule? 22 national games. Is that enough for you?
I think it's fine, in all honesty, for what they did last year. you're always going to have the larger names, the Lakers and the Warriors, who have the names that are going to get a ton of games. The Celtics, obviously, and the Knicks. The Nuggets got bounced early, so they don't deserve to be on national television as much as some of these other teams. And I know the Lakers got bounced before them, but we're
They're also the Lakers.
Exactly, they're the Lakers, and you just come to expect that with plenty of things. Much like the Yankees are going to play way too many Sunday night baseball games, even though they're terrible. Just kidding, they're not terrible.
Wish they were.
I'm just firming up my plans actually for New York here. I'm pretty excited.
Sweet.
I'm going to Sunday baseball game at Yankee Stadium. That was the Friday one.
No, it's Saturday.
Oh no, definitely not Saturday. My family already sold those tickets.
Jerks.
So, whatever. I don't care. I'm going.
Dude, Old Timers Day is fun.
Yeah, whatever. I'm spending time at the shore. It's gonna be great.
Anyway.
Stupid. You don't love the ocean as much as I do. But
no.
What, like, you already know that these other teams are gonna have those games. They're gonna be highlighted more than the Nuggets. We know that. And we also know that these nationally televised games are also the 8:30 p.m. starts that nobody else watches on the East Coast. So let's not really say that they're nationally televised just because it is on TNT. The only people still awake is the post-game crew and people on the West Coast and some Nuggets fans here. Like there's not a lot of people with eyes on those nationally televised games. So they're fine. They're in a good spot, whatever. The back-to-backs, cool. I'm worried about the home road splits, first half, second half. They have a lot of road games in the second half.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a good sign for the Nuggets to go win that cup, and Jokic should get the trifecta: MVP, NBA MVP, Finals MVP, Finals championship, and then he can get the in-season cup and
in-season MVP.
Yep.
I think
hang that banner, LA.
Right.
They'll force us to hang a banner if we win.
I'm surprised they didn't give like LeBron James a in-season MVP award. I don't even know who won it, in all honesty, if they even had one. But if they did, they would hang a banner for it. That it's fine, and that also does give the opportunity for these young guys and Michael Malone, who is now forced to play as young players. It gives him a chance to have those guys get used to being in a rotation and playing meaningful minutes on their home court, and hopefully gives time for Jamal Murray to figure stuff out, because he obviously doesn't play well on the road.
No, he definitely does play better at home. I mean, we still don't know about the contract, whether or not the Nuggets are going to offer him a max. It sounds like they're going to, but obviously they're waiting for the Olympics. I wonder if it was performance-based. And if it was, I think he cost himself a little bit of money. But
that worries me, though. Like, would he accept that? Like, he's been pretty antagonistic, I guess, against the Nuggets with these contract talks. Like, he's been taking a lot of this stuff personally. If they offered him less money, would he accept that, or would he demand a trade? Would he kind of lose his mind? Not quite to the level of an Antonio Brown, but that kind of, you know what? All right, fuck you guys. Or kind of like Jay Cutler did to an extent. And I hope I'm wrong about that. I hope that everything works out just fine and that they get him locked up, because it's still the best two-man game of basketball. I understand people's argument that, like, well, you could put any good shooter there and they'll have a great two-man game with the best player in the world to an extent, but no, not like that. Those guys like communicate psychically. It's crazy how good they are. But you could use a better passer and facilitator out of that point guard spot. So that would be a good room for improvement. But like, I don't like the idea of seeing the Nuggets without Jamal Murray. But I made this point to you guys off stream. We couldn't think of seeing Shaq without Penny Hardaway until we did. So we're just praying that Jamal is the Kobe to Jokic's Shaq and not the Penny Hardaway to Jokic's Shaq.
But that's where I worry, though.
Yeah.
We have 3 years of Nikola Jokic. I'm not planning on any more than 3 years. So if this youth movement doesn't work out, maybe they show something. I think it didn't work out for the Lakers, but I think you need to go all out, bring in all of the pieces that you need. Like when they brought in, I mean, what was it? Malone, Gary Payton.
They
Oh
got
my God.
swept in that team got swept.
No, I know, but you need to bring out all the stops and give all of these guys, bring any guys in that you possibly can. If this youth movement doesn't work right away, you need to bring whatever talent you can in, go into whatever cap, and figure it out, because you only have this window with Jokic and his
Closing.
dad's comments. If it's more than 3 years, awesome. His last year is also a player option, which I don't think he'll walk away from the team. But he might if things aren't going well, and you just need to get the guys in here to take advantage of this window, because maybe he plays another 4 or 5 years, but right now you got 3 seasons with Jokic that are good, that you could win, that that you have the best player in the NBA. Possibly Wembanyama could overtake him.
Yeah,
like, that makes sense. I could see that 3 years, and then he'd come back for the Olympics after the year after he retired, and then probably no more Jokic basketball. That's and I agree with what you're saying. It's just funny that you use the example of the 2004 Lakers that got swept by the Pistons with Gary Payton and Karl Malone. But that concept is not wrong. I agree with that. I would wanting to kind of build this team, because you look at the way that teams have pivoted in the offseason. Like the Phoenix Suns look much better than they did last year because they just brought in depth. The LA Clippers have actually managed to skirt the second apron and look almost better, not necessarily totally better, because they're still without Paul George, who's an amazing player, but at the end of the day, he gets hurt too often. So them now having 7 or 8 guys that can play like starter quality minutes for them, as opposed to when it was 6, but 3 of them are superstars, but they're all old. Like that might be what the Nuggets have to do. I just really hope that the odd man out isn't Jamal Murray. And I hope that what Colin was saying a few podcasts ago is correct, and that they can afford to keep everybody because of salary caps going up and the new broadcasting deal. And maybe that is their idea of a super team, is just keep everyone together a la The Last Dance, but they still need to, I think you're right, Colin, they need to bring in more guys and figure out exactly what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, if this doesn't work right away, you got to Jokic brought Team Serbia, a team that has 5 NBA players, 2 legitimate, 1 fringe, and then 2 that are okay. You're on an NBA team. Like he brought them to the bronze medal game and put Team USA on the brink of losing. Jokic can single-handedly control a game. The Nuggets right now with Jokic are a contender, no matter who else they have on their roster because of Jokic. Not no matter, but almost in spite of anyone else on their roster, Jokic makes that team a winner. And we may never have this opportunity again in Denver. So if Jamal Murray isn't working out, get the hell out of here if he's not doing it. I don't want to give him the deal right away. And maybe he plays begrudgingly and he holds it against the organization and doesn't go out and ball out. Well, cool. Then you wouldn't ball out for years after Jokic isn't here either and lead this team to a championship. So get him the hell out of here for now. Let's bring in a bunch of temporary rentals and go try and win this thing year after year after year. And then we'll have to rebuild this thing after the Jokic era is over.
Yeah, it's.
I stopped right at the wrong time for that cough, Nick. My bad.
Sorry.
I should have gone a little bit more long-winded.
I was trying to hold it, and I double tapped when I was trying to mute myself. So there's not much left to do. It's basically shit or get off the pot at this point. Speaking of youth movements, the Colorado Rockies are showing us where they're heading to. I don't feel very comfortable with this yet because it's less than a season down in AAA, but Elias Diaz has been waived. He's out in the market. Somebody's going to pick up his $1.5 million because somebody's going to need a catcher for the playoffs. Good for him. Hopefully he catches on with somebody that will make a deep run. I know. I guess they tried to trade him, but nobody had decent offers, but it is what it is. Go
Do
ahead,
you have
Colin.
something to say, Colin? Hold on. Colin may have a comment.
Hey, Nick.
Colin,
What did I say last year after Elias Diaz was the All-Star Game MVP?
trade him in the offseason.
No, I said get rid of his ass. Trade him then. His value is never going to be higher.
Yeah, that's why I said trade him in the offseason.
Don't even wait that long.
You still had time in the
Look,
middle
you
of
had
the
2
season.
weeks, but
You trade him then. You give value. You're riding hot, and you were like, no, you got to keep him for this pitching staff, and you just won the MVP. Nick.
Because Drew Romo had been down there for 40-something games.
I don't care.
I do.
You build value because this team was still going to lose 100 games with Elias Diaz or without. They're still going to lose 100 games without him. Like, you could have gotten something for him then.
We've seen them stunt their growth, too.
This is why
Jared Atkins, Brad Hopp.
Okay, Ryan McMahon. What's going to happen when he gets let go and he ends up the Rockies get nothing for him? There goes another opportunity. Like you say, this youth movement, it's not really a youth movement because the Rockies won't buy into a youth movement.
They have no choice now. They clearly are. Buddy Black said they were. He talked today after having to tell Elias he was gone.
Then why the hell didn't you let Ryan trade Ryan?
I don't know because I was on the same page. I said trade him to the Bronx. I kept saying trade him to the Bronx because they need a third baseman.
You just want him in the Bronx.
No, they need a third baseman.
I know.
DJ can't hit the broadside of a barn. They're stuck with Oswaldo Cabrera right now, who's not bad, but he's not a good hitter. You put him with that infield, that's going to be a dangerous infield.
But all of these guys, the Rockies are not going with the youth movement. They say they are, but they really were. They would be trading guys for youth.
But what good is trading him for a bucket of baseballs?
What did the Rockies get?
The same thing they would have probably gotten if
they got less than a bucket of baseballs. They got absolutely nothing.
They got. I don't know.
They at least could have gotten a bucket of baseballs in a trade.
I don't know what he was offered.
Got a bucket of baseballs, all right.
But you gotta get something in return too.
No, you don't, because the Rockies are getting nothing in return.
Not when you're trading somebody, you want to get something in return.
But the end result is the same. You don't have this player, and now you have this player for nothing. Just like John Gray, just like Adam Ottavino, just like DJ LeMahieu. You got nothing.
I know.
You got nothing.
But you still have to have somebody that's willing to play ball. You have to have somebody willing to. Okay, Colin, I will trade you this Mountain Dew right now. Here you go. Bottle of Mountain Dew. What do you have to trade me?
Mine's
10 cents.
No, this was $2.
Okay, cool. You keep it then. You're the Rockies management making a terrible decision.
I'm going to throw it away. You know what it cost yourself?
You're Rockies management. You could have made 10 cents back off of that.
Ooh. I'm still in the negative.
Okay, but would be less in the negative.
Yeah,
terrible
but now you're
example
more in the negative. Because you threw it away, you're more in the negative. Yeah, they needed to, you're proving your own point. They got nothing when they could have got something. They could have gotten some kind of building block.
Any prospect, because maybe any prospect gets involved in a future.
But I was also saying
now you got nothing.
But I was also saying they needed to trade him. Like everything I was saying at the trade deadline was trade these guys.
But not last year.
No, that was a different year.
Different year, same 100 loss. Yeah, it was different. It was the first 100 losses. It wasn't the
same 100 losses. It was their first 100 losses.
Yeah.
Play the song.
Look how good keeping those guys went.
Play the song.
What? Yeah, because we don't know much about. Well, we kind of.
He already did.
Rockies do know a little bit.
Yeah, actually, do you need to play it? You already played it.
This is the victory formation.
All right, boys, here we go. Best play in football. 6 right tight diamond victory on 1. Break.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, it's jam.
The Pick'em segment proving that Colin Zanker is the most humble man in the history of time. Least. Featuring Nick Archuleta wishing he was somewhere else. And Joe Goodwin just kind of winging it.
All right, we're here, everybody. We finally made it back to the victory formation. Much like the Rockies finally made it back this last weekend. Surprising the Braves in a few, like we were just talking about. But not all of us can be winners. Not all of us can even win one game. Some of us can only win one, and no one can sweep right now. Let's get into it. Well, we start things off with our Croatia-Serbia draw pick in men's water polo. We all know, because we follow so closely, that Serbia won it all. But did they draw to get there?
No.
Doubt it.
They did not. They won 13-11 to win the gold medal in the Battle of the Balkans. Battle of the Balkans in the water. It's decided in the pool.
The Balkan Sea.
The only one of us to choose that one correctly, because we all chose differently. Joe, you should have stuck with Serbia, and we would have had two people choose correctly. So, Nick, you're the only one who got it right in that one. As I chose draw, Joe chose Croatia. That was easy to say. And so we all had a different one. Next, we move on to our Sunday night baseball game, where it was the Mets versus the Mariners. And someone loves Grimace a little too much. Or actually, two of you do. Nick and Joe both picked the Mets, and the Mariners swept the Mets in Seattle, continuing their hot streak. So I won that game. Joe, if you haven't figured it out, you lost all three. We move on to the football game that we chose that happened after the Broncos. That was the Cowboys and Rams. Nick, the only one to choose the Rams, is they got lucky with a Brett Rippin farts touchdown at the end to win that game with no time left. So Nick comes out victorious this week, winning 33-41, being the first one to top $600 at $604.57. Joe, you fall under $500 with your $30 loss at $499.68, and I lost $2.59, still in third at $427.21. All right. Here we go through these games. Nick, you know it's Sunday Night Baseball, and like I was giving you crap earlier, Nick picks the Yankees to beat the Tigers. Joe, who you got?
Oh, that's good. Are the Tigers good?
No.
Okay. Take the Tigers.
About as good as the Rockies.
No, they're better than the Rockies. I think they have like 56 wins right now. Let me just double check where they're at real quick as I'm doing this. I am taking 59 wins, so they are much closer to not losing 100 games this year. You said you're taking the Tigers, Joe?
Yes, sir.
I am going with the Yankees as well. Even though it is in Detroit, this could be a game that they lose. Don't know who's pitching, but it doesn't really matter. I'm going to take the Yankees. Next, we move to some football. The second game of the preseason, which should be the only real game. Bye, Nick.
Everything's fine. He's going to pick last?
No, he's just gone.
Oh, I know.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, he is picking last. So we got the Lions versus the Chiefs. Lions are at plus 260 underdogs. Chiefs minus 320 at home in this preseason tilt. Joe, who you got?
Well, let's think about this for a minute. Give Nick some time to get back into the queue here. It's preseason. I don't really care that much though either. I'm trying to think of either team's backup quarterback, and I don't think I can think of either one. Fuck it, I'll take the Chiefs because they got that super fast kid that's probably gonna play a little bit. That seems like the way to go, but it could be the Lions. We're not totally sure. We're gonna see what happens once. Let's see if we can hear this.
Oh, he had Adobe downloading in the background. Well, we'll see if you get back on. We might wrap it up. But who you got? So Joe just chose the Chiefs. Lions or Chiefs, Nick?
I'm gonna go Chiefs.
Oh man, you guys are both. All right, I'm going Lions. They might actually care. Yeah, this is terrible. So let's wrap this up. Last thing to pick. I'm gonna let you choose Nick first because that way I can get you off the phone and it doesn't sound like crap. Storm or Fever? Women's WNBA.
Fever.
They're back, of course. The Fever He's got a fever, and the only prescription is restarting your computer.
They give me fever.
All right. Okay, so I think I might have said it. I am taking the Lions in that last one. And I am also going to take the fever in this matchup with the Storm. Joe, who you got to wrap it up?
I don't really know who's on the Storm, so we're going to take them. Let's go, Seattle Storm.
Seattle Storm. Joe has them. They do have the better record. I don't have the odds. But since we are at an hour, that means that I guess I get to wrap this thing up. And should we go daydreaming or should we go into space? What do you think? Maybe night driving.
I'm pretty sure we did space last time, so not space.
Night driving. Let's see which one night driving is. We almost forget. That's a little interesting. All right.
Drive safe, folks.
Yeah, for sure. Drive safe.
At night,
for everybody. Want to thank Michael Spillin, everyone over at E5280 Sports and Lifestyle. Appreciate you hosting us. Make sure to check out all the other podcasts on this platform. It is awesome. There are a lot of great shows all around covering everything from Game of Thrones to all the different sports. With that being said, we are the Undrafted Uncensored. That is Joseph Goodwin. Looks funny pointing on the thing. That's Joseph Goodwin. Nick Archuleta is actually into space right now, but he is normally here. Oh, and we got to thank Pike Speak Sports Cards for sponsoring the show. Appreciate you. You know, I don't have this written down like Nick, but I think I'm doing a pretty damn good job. Well, Nick's going to pop up for 1 second as I wrap it up. There's Nick Archuleta. So there's Nick Archuleta back from space. There's Joseph Goodwin. Once again, thank y'all. Love y'all. I'm Colin Zanker. This has been Undrafted Uncensored. We'll see you next time. And I might be live from New York. Who knows? It's Saturday night.
I didn't watch the second season of House of Dragon.